Access all areas, the C-Suite Leadership and Tech Podcast.
Willkommen zurück zu Access All Areas, heute mit der Folge 39 und dem CDO von IKEA, Jeremy Drury. Und haltet euch schon mal fest, wir switchen nachher auf eine andere Sprache, die jedem, glaube ich, relativ bekannt sein sollte, nämlich der Jeremy kommt aus UK und damit es noch dynamischer in der Folge abgeht, haben wir ihm gesagt, natürlich kann er auf seiner Muttersprache mit uns den Podcast hosten. Und demnach findet ihr das erste Mal einen kleinen Pivot, das vielleicht nicht ganz so erste Mal, aber findet ein kleiner Pivot statt auf Englisch. Wir freuen uns drauf. Aber nun erstmal, Nina und ich, wir haben uns auch ein paar Tage nicht gesehen. Frisch, neu und in Farbe, wie man das auch mal so schön sagt. Nina, ich freue mich, dich zu sehen. Wie geht's dir?
Also neu leider nicht, frisch auf jeden Fall. Ich freue mich wahnsinnig, dass wir heute einen ersten englischsprachigen Gast haben. Wir haben ja wirklich noch ein paar weitere tolle englischsprachige Speaker und Gäste, mit denen wir uns hier gerne austauschen möchten. Insofern ist das hier schon mal ein erstes Experiment und lasst uns bitte unbedingt wissen, wie ihr das findet und ob ihr euch und auch uns noch ein paar mehr English Native Speaker zutraut. Das testen wir heute mal mit euch. Vielen lieben Dank, dass ihr mal wieder ein bisschen unsere Versuchsreihe hier mitmacht. Und ansonsten neue Ideen im Kopf habe ich auf jeden Fall. Ich kann ja mal anfangen, so ein bisschen, wie die letzten Wochen bei mir ein bisschen aussahen, seitdem wir uns das letzte Mal gesehen haben. Ich war viel in den USA unterwegs. Wir hatten eine globale Leadership-Konferenz, unter anderem mit unserem lieben CEO Sundar Pichai, aber auch einem unserer Gründer, Sergey Brin, der da live on stage mit dabei war. Und eine Geschichte, die ich vielleicht mit euch teilen möchte, weil die mich wirklich unfassbar begeistert, ist nicht ein Produkt, das mich unglaublich begeistert, Nano Banana, von dem ihr alle hoffentlich schon gehört habt, sondern tatsächlich auch so ein bisschen die Entstehungsgeschichte von Nano Banana, weil ich finde, dass da unfassbar viel Power drin steckt. Nano Banana ist nämlich, für alle, die es noch nicht kennen sollten, ist ein Feature in Gemini, mit dem man super easy Bilder bearbeiten kann. Und alles, was man schon immer sein wollte, machen wollte, ganz einfach mit einem kurzen Textprompt darstellen kann. Ich hatte erst heute einen LinkedIn-Post dazu mit mir als Avenger und so ein bisschen Alien-Frau irgendwie gepostet. Was das über mich sagt, das sei mal dahingestellt. Darüber reden wir dann in einer anderen Folge. Aber das Coole ist tatsächlich diese Entstehungsgeschichte von dem Feature, weil das war auf keiner Produkt-Roadmap von uns drauf, sondern ist einfach wirklich dadurch entstanden, dass unsere Entwickler zusammen im Office saßen, sich wunderbar ihre gegenseitigen Codes und Hacks, die sie entwickelt haben, gegenseitig geteilt haben, gezeigt haben. Einer fand es super lustig, was man da mit den Bildern machen kann. Das fanden alle anderen drumherum auch lustig. Dann sagte irgendjemand einer, Mensch, warum integrieren wir es nicht in Gemini? Mensch, warum nennen wir es nicht Nano Banana und machen ein Bananenlogo auch dahinter? Und irgendjemand meinte, yes, let's ship it. Und so kommt es, dass das seit ein paar Wochen tatsächlich auch for free in unserer Gemini-App verfügbar ist.
Was für eine schöne Geschichte, Nina, die du mit im Gepäck hattest, als du zurück aus den USA warst. Und ich finde, das zeigt einmal wieder, wie schnell sich die Welt drehen kann. Und ihr habt es vielleicht auch schon mitbekommen, der eine oder andere hat auch schon drüber gesprochen. Beispielsweise hat der Pip bei der Demexco darüber gesprochen, wie in Google Trends gerade die Gemini-App relativ viel aufholt. Und womit hat das zu tun? Natürlich mit Nano Banana und dem Image-Tool, weil man wirklich richtig kreative und coole Bilder machen kann. Ich habe das meiner ganzen Familie und meinen Freunden natürlich auch schon weitergegeben und entsprechend gibt es da ganz diverse Chats mit wirklich unterschiedlichen Images und das finde ich richtig, richtig cool. Auf der anderen Seite zeigt es, wie schnell eigentlich so welche Trends auch wiederum in eine ganz andere Richtung drehen können. Wir erinnern uns ja noch, wie vor 2 Jahren dieser Blockbuster-Moment hochkam und auf einmal war ChatGPT in allen Ohren und jetzt ganz schnell kann sich das Blatt wenden und Gemini ist on the road und das sagen wir natürlich nicht nur, weil wir für Google arbeiten, sondern weil es einfach ein cooles Tool ist, aber ich glaube, wir müssen auch trotzdem alle Ohren und Augen offen halten, weil so schnell wie die Wendung kommt, kann sie auch wieder in die andere Richtung gehen und wir haben jetzt ungefähr, glaube ich, 1 Milliarde wöchentliche Nutzer von diesen ganzen KI-Chatbots. Wir interagieren, glaube ich, entweder täglich oder wöchentlich mit diesen Tools. Manchmal wissen wir
stündlich, Livia. Bei mir ist es wirklich stündlich.
Bei Nina ist es stündlich.
Nicht mehr wegzudenken.
Genau, man fühlt sich manchmal auch ein bisschen in so einem, werde ich jetzt eigentlich wirklich blöder, wenn ich habe letztens drüber nachgedacht, als ich so eine WhatsApp-Nachricht geschrieben habe an meine Freundin und dachte mir, muss ich nochmal kurz bei Prompt, nochmal kurz irgendwie rewriten mit einem Prompt, und dann dachte ich mir, das kann nicht sein. Ich kann doch nicht alles jetzt rewriten mit einem Prompt.
Dafür gibt es einen Begriff, Brain Rot. Ich habe mich die Woche auch mit einem Professor unterhalten, der meinte, Brain Rot is real, und man muss wirklich aufpassen, seine grauen Zellen nicht allzu sehr auf Pause zu setzen.
Voll. Und damit kann ich total dir zustimmen, weil manchmal muss ich mich dann so ein bisschen challengen und sagen, ich nutze das Tool jetzt einfach nur alleine fürs Brainstorming, und die Ideen und der Prompt, egal ob der ein wilder Prompt ist oder wie auch immer aussieht, trotzdem kommt er immer noch aus meinen Gehirnzellen. Und den für mich auch sehr spannenden letzten Punkt, den ich noch mal reingeben möchte, bevor wir jetzt gleich auf Englisch switchen, ist auch dieser kulturelle Kampfzonengeist. Ja, wir sehen, das ist so extrem schnell, die Technologie ändert sich, Modelle kommen raus täglich oder wöchentlich, und wir müssen alle on Speed bleiben. Und dann guckt man sich, und darüber habe ich jetzt auch letztens drüber geschrieben, dann guckt man sich den Spirit da drüben an in China. 996 habe ich da letztens drüber gelernt. Weißt du, was 996 bedeutet?
Livy, ich habe es noch nie gehört.
Die Chinesen arbeiten von 9 bis 9, 6 Tage die Woche. Und das tun sie, weil sie genau wissen, mit dieser Hungriness und mit diesem Drive, nur so kriegen sie es hin, wirklich top-notch unterwegs zu sein und diesem Speed auch gerecht zu werden. Und manchmal fühle ich mich, als würde rechts und links alles irgendwie acceleraten, und bei uns drehen sich die Räder noch ein bisschen langsamer. Sehr schade, aber auch das kriegen wir, glaube ich, hin, weil ich glaube, wenn wir es schaffen, wirklich auch, ob 996 oder 985, was auch immer dann unser Default Modeling ist, aber wenn wir es schaffen, nochmal wirklich ein bisschen Mindset-Change an den Tag zu setzen und ein bisschen mehr Drive, glaube ich, können wir auch viel bewegen. Und auch das ist vielleicht der letzte Punkt, den ich auch nochmal nennen würde. Ich glaube, wir haben so viel Potenzial in Deutschland. Wenn wir uns mal allein die Industrie angucken, wie viel Mittelstand wir hier haben in Deutschland und was wir wirklich für tolle und innovative Firmen hier drauf sitzen haben, wenn das aufbaut auf den Hyperscalern, ich glaube, dann können wir dem Ganzen schon nochmal ein bisschen anderen Speed geben, und darauf hoffe ich. Und Jeremy wird uns jetzt gleich mal ein bisschen was erzählen darüber, wie das bei IKEA aussieht, was für ein Mindset die da an den Tag legen und wie er die Transformation bei IKEA momentan versucht voranzuführen, beziehungsweise mit dem Team entsprechend in die Organisation zu treiben. Und mit dem, willkommen Jeremy. Welcome Jeremy. We are very happy to have you today.
Welcome to Access All Areas. Today, a bit of a different twist, given that we changed languages. You probably have noticed that. But as we are in an international German setting, I'm very sure that this is going to be quite easy. Today with us, actually in person with me, is Jeremy Drury. Jeremy, welcome to Access All Areas. We're very happy and very pleased to have you.
Very nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting me in your private corporate kitchen, so to say. We're sitting here in a very IKEA-like environment. Super happy to be here in Wallau, Frankfurt area. So for the ones who have not seen Jeremy on stage yet, which presumably a few of you haven't, but it's always a good segue to do that. If you see him somewhere on stage, join him, because it is kind of a very great experience. Jeremy is country manager at IKEA. He leads a human-centric transformation at IKEA, using tech to create a simpler and more inspiring experience, which I find quite interesting for customers and obviously also for his co-workers and peers. He sees digitalization as an evolution, not a revolution, which is focused on reducing tech savviness, anxiety, which is probably sometimes also combined with the tech transformation. And he's trying to foster a sense of togetherness, which I think is more or less IKEA as I perceive it. And he has a very unique perspective combined from his past executive experience in different fields. And so you're going to talk about that hopefully very soon. You have been in a CIO position beforehand and CDO at Star Alliances with an analytical background. And you have come to ground with a chemical engineer education, which is interesting. Quite a transformation for yourself within your career.
Yes, 3 of them.
3 of them.
Who knows if there's going to be another one?
Yeah, maybe there is. Yeah, let's see what happens. So, Jeremy, we always start at Access Areas with this very, very known question by now. We have now heard a bit of your background, which is probably also mapped on LinkedIn. But can you tell us something what is not mapped in your CV?
So not from my work CV, but from my life CV. I used to ride horses, but that's boring. I've probably gone through about 20,000 diapers in my life.
Yourself?
Not myself, but me and my family, because there's 5 children in the family.
I was going to ask 20,000 for how many kids? I was trying to do the math.
Yeah, I actually had to ask ChatGPT how many diapers an average kid uses. So I did that before I came to the room here. But on average, it's about 3,000 to 4,000 diapers per kid. So 5 kids, let's say it's 20,000 diapers have probably gone through my house. I'm not going to say, because that's not fair, that I touched all of those diapers, but I did spend a good chunk of time
Which
with the
percentage of diapers touched? That's a nice KPI for fathers.
Exactly.
Percentage of diapers touched.
Exactly. So I don't know exactly how many I touched, but there are at least 20,000 going through the house, and of course the 5 children who were part of that are a huge part of my life.
Are they still in the house?
2 of them are in the house mostly. The other 3 have grown up. My eldest daughter is 29 and of course has her own life. My youngest daughter is 5, and she would of course she comes home every day.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is a quite unique experience.
There you go.
So it's also a bit of togetherness that you have in your private life and back at your home. And by the way, I think it's so cool that we do a video recording today with you and the fancy kitchen in IKEA. Also, that I think is a nice sign of togetherness, that your office is a nice kitchen where everyone can feel comfortable just sitting at the kitchen table. Livia is often talking about her kitchen table friends. So maybe that's a nice analogy to that. So, Jeremy, we're really looking forward to deep diving into how AI is refining everyday life at IKEA and really learning from you and some great examples that you are driving and implementing. Maybe we'll start a bit about your role. So the CDO role is often called the change agent with a shelf life, suggesting that the ultimate goal is to make the role itself redundant. How do you look at that, and how do you measure your success in embedding a digital-first mindset across the entire organization?
Well, first of all, I like my job, so I'd like it to stay around for a little while. But at the same time, I think the sentiment is probably correct. For me, the digital organization is a business bridge organization which helps the whole of the organization move towards embedding digital thinking, or I wouldn't even say technology thinking, into the business. And
it's much broader than just digital nowadays, right?
Exactly. And it's been the journey that we've done since I've been here, the 3.5 years, as we went through the global transformation, digital transformation, was to move from it being the whole conversation being about digital strategy to a conversation about digitalization, which is a different way of looking at it. It's not about creating a digital strategy which is going to put technology and introduce agile and make product teams, etc. It's about everybody in the organization wanting and needing to adopt the technologies in order to make the business run correctly. That means we need to be everywhere. We still have a very strong team of people who are very focused here in IKEA Germany on technology infrastructure, because that needs to get done. And at the same time, that's the support infrastructure which allows the business to then grasp the technology and use it in the daily life. That's the change that we need to make. Which means, to answer the original question, do I have a shelf life? Probably. But I don't know where that ended. I don't have a date on that yet. But there is a shelf life on that transformation, and then we need to decide what that means afterwards. What is the future CDO role going to be? A digital officer role or digital transformer? What is it? What is that going to be in the future? Because the technology layers still need to be there, but how do we then migrate into the business in a better way or a stronger way? Still always work to do.
Yeah, and I mean the solution is not at all out there yet. I mean, there are so many companies obviously now working in that space and trying to look into the future, but everything is so dynamic and there is so much pace on the street. I think everyone needs to find an individualized solution and then keep on adapting towards that solution. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think people in my role, or the people who are aspiring to be or in a similar role, I think we start to recognize that we are not a tech team. We are a business organization supporting the business, and need to understand the business as much as we can to help deliver to the business goals. So it's much more than a traditional technology role.
Yeah. So everyone nowadays also talks about seamlessly omni-channel experiences. We have seen that everyone is asking themselves, or a lot of people, especially working in those CMOs or CDO positions, obviously looking into solutions. How can a seamless omni-channel experience look like? And maybe going a bit beyond this vision of the seamless omni-channel experience, can you give us maybe a bit of a more unglamorous behind the scene challenge you are faced with at the moment to really trying to make that happen for the customers out there, to grasp IKEA from not only the entry door digital, or the primarily entry door offline towards also a seamlessly online, offline experience? What is your vision there?
So there's an exciting conversation there, and then there's a conversation about
making that happen.
Bolts and how do we make that happen. And I think when we look at the omni-channel delivery that IKEA is delivering to the customer, that means managing the different channels that we have, but making sure that different channels are connected correctly offline through the store, which I hope you've been shopping today.
Sure. Not yet. No. I just met the media department trying to make business.
We'll sort that out later. Yep. Because then you can experience the online and offline, how they come together, how our IKEA app is different to you as a customer when we're outside of the store than when you're inside the store, because different things are relevant to that. And how do we join all those dots up to make it a complete couch-to-couch experience, at the same time relevant to you where you are on each of those joining points. So there's a lot of work going on there. We haven't got a catalogue anymore. So the inspiration that
when did you get rid of that one?
Oh, that is so hard. You wouldn't ask that question.
Sorry, that's unplanned.
Yeah, but I actually can't remember. It was before I came to IKEA. I should know the answer to that question.
So you were already leading in that.
Exactly. It was short before I came. Yeah. The catalogue was an inspiration to me as a child, and probably to many people. I remember cutting it up and being part of that play school and using the catalogue for my own types of inspiration as a 5-year-old.
Yeah, we still had Quelle as well in Germany. Quelle had also.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those big catalogues coming in.
And those catalogues are they've gone. So how do we create the same inspiration that the catalogue was providing by being on the coffee table in the online space? So the omni-channel journey requires us to also be looking at using our channels in that most inspirational way. If you go to the store, you're inspired. Absolutely. I always love walking through the stores and always think, I could take that home with me.
And you always do.
I always do.
Yeah, me too.
And I work here.
Yeah.
So the inspiration's working well. We need to make sure we reflect that in the other channels as well. So that's one of the challenges we're having and we're working through, and encouraging our customers to adopt those channels. Being mobile is where we need to be in our inspiration channel, and we need to be focusing on the mobile activities that the consumer has. But in order to do that, there's let's say the less glamorous side, which was in the question, which is we need to focus very much on the change management that is needed with our co-workers and our co-worker representation to make sure that we can move our co-workers into that new space. They're great as customers, but sometimes it's difficult to adopt the new technologies inside the stores. There's the fear that you mentioned in the introduction that we need to take care of. When we talk about digital transformation and the change management involved, one of the first feelings is, that means it's going to be difficult for me as an individual to learn. Is it going to impact my job? Am I going to do something else? Am I going to be redundant? Or these types of conversations. And these questions need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And the sooner we deal with those, and the sooner we have those conversations and a framework within which we can work, the easier it is then to start rolling out. And that's something we've been doing over the last 2 or 3 years, is making sure that we have a framework, we have a conversational framework in place, which allows us to roll out quickly.
Can you lead us a bit behind the scenes, how those conversations, maybe type of those conversations look like? And how do you lead a conversation where someone is so anxious that their job is going to be made redundant that you take them along?
For me, it's not about redundancy. It's about change of my job. This is the question we need to have. If I'm doing this job today, am I still going to be doing this job tomorrow? Or can I learn and what skills and what training programs is IKEA going to be able to put in place to move us into the new world? And that's this is what is an omnichannel coworker? What is an omnichannel customer? How do I understand that framework? And then then how do all of these new tools and new functions that the digital team is putting into place interact with that journey? So that's
and I could imagine that it's quite complicated in itself, because I mean, even you, who are very sophisticated in that manner, don't have the answers yet. How is an agent coworker going to be looking like? What features is he going to be capable of? I mean, we can imagine that, but we don't know the solution and the status quo in 2028 yet. Yeah, so exactly. We all are in an iteration phase in that.
Everything's moving very, very quickly, and it hasn't got slower in the last 2 years because of the 2.5 years because of the GenAI movement.
Yeah.
That hasn't helped.
I know.
That hasn't helped.
Every day,
the pace.
A new model.
Yeah. We're quite often talking about building the plane while we fly it.
Exactly.
So that's actually what's happening, and I think it's kind of the same everywhere.
The only thing that we know is that it's going to be different tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation we need to encourage, is so people remain curious, remain interested, and help us along on the journey. And the challenging wish to that is, please tell us where we're going. And we can point in the direction, but we might not today know exactly how we're going to get there.
Yeah. To get everyone on board and along, it's also key, from what we learned in several discussions already, to really demystify AI, GenAI, and rather show and talk about the benefits that it can drive for a business and for use cases. Is there a specific use case that you are particularly proud about or wowed about that you have shared with your team recently?
Well, it depends what we talk about with AI, because traditional ML and the work that we've been doing with machine learning is one question. When we have these conversations in the last 2.5 years, whenever it says AI, they were talking about Gen AI predominantly, and how that can impact the business. We've done some great things with machine learning. We've got I don't know if you've used it. I hope you have. If you've seen me present it, I hope you downloaded the app later.
I did. It was an inspiring talk at the K5 last year. It's still available. So audience, dial in. It's a very great introduction to the IKEA functionalities in the app.
So one of the functionalities is IKEA Creative, which is based upon ML, especially based upon the same technology that drives autonomous vehicles, where we can take renderings of a room, scan a room, use the machine learning to remove furniture from the room, so you can start your design from the ground up. So that's an area where we can inspire already to show people show the co-workers and our customers that AI can be part of their everyday life and their everyday design experiences. Another example is waste watchers.
Sorry, Jeremy, and that's also used in the stores.
So it's not directly used in the stores. It's a consumer product for the co-workers. Consumer product for the co-workers. Right. It's a consumer product for the customers. Yeah. But of course, when it's included in their profile, and that can be then brought to the store for the inspiration that we can then be used with our internal design interior design experts. So I
think Nina was already hoping that the queues in the store when she was queuing up, or when you were queuing up for certain services, are going to be gone, because the functionality is completely be happening in the app, isn't it, Nina? Were you hoping for that?
Yeah, I was rather thinking about going into the store with pictures from my living room, my kids' room, my whatever it is, and kind of looking physically in the store, adding in the pieces that I would see into my living room, and kind of be inspired by the whole setup, how it's done in the IKEA stores.
So that would be something you could do today as a customer, because you could go to the store with your empty room, and as you go through the room sets, you can search and you can put them into the room and just...
Like a shopping basket. My room is my shopping basket.
Yeah, and attach it to your shopping basket.
Now you know what Nina's going to do over the weekend.
Exactly. So I need to see the rooms. I think there's some good inspiration there to be had. with that. And then we've got some other examples. Waste Watchers is another one where we've used machine learning to monitor food waste, which food is a huge part of the IKEA product and the IKEA
But who doesn't finish their plate of Köttbullar?
Well, there are maybe one or two people out there, and of course we want to know who they are. Not who they are, but what
I can't
did they throw
imagine
away?
there's so much wastage, actually.
Yeah, no, but I was also looking into that waste analysis. What do you do afterwards? You just look out for the production then of the Köttbullars afterwards that you don't.
We're looking at size of portion. We're looking at how can we optimize what we're serving to the customers so that we do get less waste. I mean, when we first switched on the system, in the first 8 months, we found 1 million meals that were thrown away. That's a big number.
It's such a key central part, the food, isn't it? I mean, that's right. It's in the middle of the store. People rest and obviously come. Some people just come for the food. What I learned from the media department, they just have a morning coffee on Mondays.
Yeah, we have our regulars in all of the stores, but eating during the experience is absolutely a big part of the experience. That people feel more comfortable when they're not hungry.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that makes part of it. And if we can optimize that, of course, that helps us to manage our sustainability agenda as well as it's good for the bottom line. So it works for us in both directions. So I just wanted to talk about GenAI because those are all machine learning examples, and GenAI is the topic.
Everyone is crazy about since the blockbuster moment of
exactly that moment.
That company we are not mentioning in that podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that a human talking behind the scenes? It was like, they're cheating, but it was actually.
We will also dub over you mentioning ChatGPT in the beginning, by the way.
You're dabbing in that over.
No, we won't.
No, it's totally fine. It's authentic. We are.
Of course, I always use Gemini.
Yeah, always. No, but go ahead.
Yeah, that we're launching a GenAI platform. Hey AI.
So funny because you have to introduce that as well. Every email at IKEA starts with hey.
Exactly.
It's
amazing.
We
can all speak Swedish.
Yeah, we pretend. You pretend. I'm already getting used to that. Every time I'm talking to the media team, I'm actually trying to also use that hey. Yeah.
It's nice though. It's cute though. It's nice. It's nice.
I like that. Yeah.
Hey AI, which is being rolled out onto co-workers' desktops so that they can interact with GenAI and start to build their own assistants and create their own use cases. And this is what really inspires me, is because the whole GenAI movement is allowing the many co-workers to solve the many problems. It's much easier to start looking at these and have conversations with a large language model than it is to open up Power Automate and start automating. There's a barrier to that, and there's no barrier to adopting use of a large language model, be it Gemini or be it one of the others.
Yeah.
Then start building your own assistants. And I just came out of a talent success talk, which is our internal development talks that we have every year. One of my team has built his own coach. He's taken in all of the input that he's got from the different stakeholders. He's taken in the 360 results. He's taken in my personal development plan, etc. He's thrown it all together into his assistant. And he wanted someone he could spar with on a more regular basis. So he put it all together and created his own coach. It dawned on me, it's not the big things that are going to make the difference. It's going to be the little things that are solving everyday problems that are going to make the differences. And we can build large AI infrastructure and we can solve some of the big ones. Maybe we'll talk about some future ideas. But at the same time, what it's enabling is that everybody has the ability to create their coach or their data analyst or their onboarding agent or their exactly. Yeah. So it all starts to come together, and everyone starts to get much more comfortable with where they are and can start to educate themselves. That was what inspired me today, I have to say.
It's good that you always have to grab at one thing and one piece what inspires you every single day. So it's a good segue to that one. Talking about that particular shift beyond AI being tech, but also obviously then leading into a cultural shift, which we are seeing, which you were just describing. Maybe for the talent out there, what is something you particularly find very inspiring and also something which you see as a key element people should invest in in regards to their strengths? I mean, everyone obviously has different strengths which they bring in, but what is some element you're seeing and what you think is going to be even more important in the future?
2.5 years ago, I was looking at this problem as well, thinking through what is if GenAI really kicks off, which apparently it has. So that's done. Check. How are we going to have to be? Mm-hmm. And I was trying to build analogies from the past, and one of the analogies I put together in my head, and for all those, please comment and let me know what you think. It would be really good to know whether my brain is working okay. Is that when we had the internet creation, information became free. Intensive purposes, and Google helped us very much.
Make it accessible, useful.
Data accessible and useful, but ultimately the cost of information became zero.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a great move. And that meant we had to learn a new set of skills to deal with the fact that everyone had free information. As GenAI comes, it's not about information, it's about research. So everyone now has the free research, or essentially accessibility to research. I don't need a team of 100 people to do a set of research, which I could do now in seconds at my desk using one of the large language models. Now, of course, I have to have some experience in there to understand, is the information coming back real? Do I need to double check it? All that sort of verify it? Do I need to have some experience in market to be able to, is it 80% right, 100% right, whatever, but we have to have that conversation. Then it goes on to so who do I need to be now as a leader? Because we can't be the most intelligent people in the room. We can't be the hippos, highest individual paid opinion. Right? Yeah. We need to be the people who are able to lead other people through a problem. Because all of those people have exactly the same access to the research that I have, or could have, especially with the young talents who are listening, or who are, where they want to be and where they want to be in the future. If they want to become future leaders, then it's not about being the cleverest person. It's about being the person who can bring the rest of the people with them, and enable them to work, and especially in this world of GenAI. So for me, that was one of the biggest takeaways. And I'm very privileged to work in a company called IKEA, which puts human leadership first in what we do, which means I think we're geared out for it. And as younger generations come through, we need to drive them towards this view on leading with empathy, leading the people through the problem, not the problem itself. I think that's going to be a big change.
Yeah, I think there's fantastic analysis. I'm just thinking out loud. Is there any capability you think people need to invest in when obviously information is not a scarce resource anymore? Everyone has the same access to the information. Everyone can make their own analysis or build their own coaches. Is it communication?
It's leadership skills and communication. I think we have to be. I could say prompt engineering, but I'm not going to say prompt engineering. Okay, because prompt engineering to me is the next version of coding. So we're going to get there. I think we're going to be all right. But if you want to be the winner, you need to go beyond that. You need to be able to talk. You need to be able to understand the story.
Yeah.
You need to be able to explain the story and bring that story forward so that people are coming with you. One catch I would add in is that if you do use, when we use GenAI to generate our data and do our research, it's very easy not to read it.
Yeah, I know. You just send it out.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's very important that we actually take the time. And we go through and we take accountability for the questions we're asking and therefore the answers we have. So that comes into that part of the conversation as well. Otherwise, it's just somebody else's work. And I know at least when I was at school, if I photocopied the homework, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And that's something we need to come to grips with here when we're using GenAI. We can't just be photocopiers. We need to be looking at the information, understanding it, adding to it, and then moving it forward. And then
we're always talking about the human in the loop. So whatever process we look at, it absolutely needs a human in the loop at whichever step.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's really fascinating, the human in the loop, because it's not a human pressing the button in the loop. It's human in the loop as in be present as you would be present in a meeting with other humans.
Yes, absolutely. As in the human intelligence still being needed.
The coexistence also with the agent who is going to be within our work environment in the future already is by partially. And if we want to coexist, we need to make human and we need to make the agent. So I think every interaction we can foresee within human connection, I think we need to intensify and really deepen the conversation, be there, and then also let the agents do the rest of the work, which is probably a lot of our work, of our co-work, but then be as creative as possible for the human part.
Yeah. One other thing to add in, and maybe adds to this, is we should also not expect our Gen AIs to be 100% correct. And because it's a computer, people think I start to experience these conversations now. Well, it was generated by AI; it must be correct. Now, why isn't it correct? It was generated by a computer. Well, that's not the environment we're working in anymore. We're working in an environment where the computer may actually be 80% correct because it's basing its outputs on human experience, and human experience is never correct. We need
and
to
it's assessing probabilities, right?
Exactly.
So
we would do that in a normal interaction. We would understand that you don't have all the facts, I don't have all the facts, but we're going to make a decision, right? But I do see conversations starting to arise with the Gen AI where we're assuming that the computer should have all the facts, but that's not going to be the case.
That's not the case,
yeah. And Jeremy, I loved your example of Hey AI, and also your example on how it's applied, and maybe a question to that. What's the bigger nut to crack? Is it actually building the tech and having a tool that you can make useful for your team? Or is it getting your team to work with it and drive adoption with the teams that you created?
Well, I think we probably got both in the organization. It's a spectrum of problem to be solved. We've got those wonderful, as in all organizations, we've got those wonderful first adopters who are all in. Some of them who do something and then find themselves, didn't do quite what I wanted to, so they disappear. We need to then encourage them to work. Because I'm with the digital team, those first adopters tend to be, there's a lot of them in the digital team. But there are also many in the organization who we need to bring along with us on the journey. That's going to be and is the biggest conversation. Everyone's curious to see how Gen AI is going to make a difference in their lives. So that's a good thing. I say many people are curious. Not everyone. Many are curious to see how it's going to make a difference. But we are going to have to take them through the journey because, as we know, with any tech, there's going to be this wonderful, it's going to be great. We're going to dive into the trough of disillusionment and hopefully end up in productivity at one point. Although I'm seeing productivity changes in different areas with these small experiments that are going on, I don't think we really need, many industries aren't seeing the big the real big thing coming out of it, because it's difficult to connect
the technology
to an innovation and an outcome, and it's different. There's a bridge still to be built there.
And there's also this great research study which we reference also in one of our former podcasts, was just still quite recently published from the MIT. About 95% of all the pilots end up not being used, but not because of the technology. It's most of the times because of not the readiness of the organization in itself, because the communication processes, the KPIs are not aligned yet. The business case is not really clear mapped, the communication then towards the teams, what they need to do, and then also the cultural shift. I think this is a huge bridge which we all need to solve. It's not the technology. I think the technology in itself is more or less ready to be used, sometimes better, sometimes worse, but in itself it is there to be used. But then the adoption and then also the availability within the organization is sometimes capped.
So the cap isn't here. So we're in the process of rolling out in Germany. Globally, the idea is to have the capability to everybody, everybody who wants to.
Yeah.
That's good. That isn't there. But I do see it. I do see there's going to become a point where people are going to want. The use cases that people want cause other problems. They cause problems with regulatory issues that we need to find our way through. And we're very tough on making sure that all of our AI users have AI ethical trainings as part of the AI Act, which is very, very important to us, but not just because it's an EU regulation, because it just makes sense to be compliant with the AI Act from an ethical perspective, just as we need to be compliant with data privacy. But then if you give people the tools and then they come up with these imaginative ideas, then regulation gets in the way, which they don't understand. We need to make sure that we've already built those guardrails around so that they don't have those concerns. And so we're all working in parallel to find a way to manage regulation, open up innovation, find the 5% of use cases which really make sense. So it's all happening. It's all happening at the same time. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. We'll find out at the end.
Yeah, I know. I think, and hopefully there is no end. Maybe it's an evolving process in itself. So we have talked about togetherness a lot, or we introduced you as this is one of your key topics you introduced within IKEA, and then overcoming that fear of technology. Maybe can you talk us a bit more about what is really truly behind this togetherness? What is your understanding of togetherness, and what is the goal to come even closer?
So togetherness is one of the values that we have, and this is very important for me, very important for IKEA. Because we can't if we want to do something, we need to do it together. We need to find all of the different opinions from around the countries, from around the globe, from around the company. We need to bring them together to be able to drive a better result. This isn't just about technology. This is about women leaders, diversity in the workplace, inclusion in the workplace. It's about young and old people coming together. And I had a wonderful experience about a month ago when we had our apprentice day. We brought the apprentices from around Germany to Dortmund for a day of sharing what we're doing as the management team, sharing what they are doing in their daily business, what is difficult as an apprentice at IKEA, how can we make that better? And one of the key realizations I had when talking about togetherness was the way our young generation are looking at the same problems as our more experienced co-workers is completely different. Mm-hmm. And we need to bring those two worlds together to be able to make sure that we're running the business that we have built up and strengthened over the years, but we challenge it with the younger generation, saying, "Well, guys, we could do this differently," and make sure those channels are always open. So this applies to technology, but it applies to every way of working, every potential way of working that we have. So this is why, for me, togetherness has been one of the guiding stars that I've had over the last 3.5 years. We just need to keep talking together to find a better way to solve the problems that we have. I'm moving away from togetherness as a value, not because it's not bad. I think it's still great, and I will still continue as we move.
You're evolving.
I'm evolving.
Yeah.
It's not a revolution, but I'm evolving. I'm evolving at the moment towards simplicity as a result of identifying how we can do all of these, how we can bring these people together. But I think we also, we need to, as an organization, keep an eye on the way we do things to make sure we do everything in a simple manner. We challenge ourselves to say we could do that differently, again, by looking at these different points of view, and then coming up with a better way, a more cost-efficient way, or a more inspiring way, but always with a focus on making things simple. So I'm evolving as well. Oh, yes, you're quite right. Togetherness has been my driving force for the last 3.5 years. But
after 3.5 years, you have to make a turn.
Change, no?
Yeah, I understand that.
Exactly.
And I think it's also fair to challenge, especially with tech possibilities and opportunities opening up, to rethink how processes, tools, communication ways can actually be built in an easier and more seamless way then, which is again improving communication flow and togetherness probably in the end, to have a more seamless process in place.
Sorry, I think there's so much opportunity in the ways of working in it. Probably in all of the organizations I've worked for, you build up ways of working. And when new technologies such as AI generative AI come into the equation, we have to question ourselves and say, are we doing it right? Are we focusing on the right things? Can we push some of this conversation to the background and bring other parts of the conversation to the foreground?
Yeah. My associations with increasing simplicity is actually reducing both complexity and friction. So I think it has some very positive elements to it, because I think everyone will be happy to reduce friction and complexity in their life. I really don't think there's anyone raising their hand and asking for more of that. So I actually think it's super beneficial.
Yep. One thing we should be aware, or opinion I have here, is that we should be careful that AI is not going to solve everything. But
For sure not.
But it's going to be a catalyst to help us solve many things.
Yeah.
Because when we look at implementing an agent or an AI assistant or an AI agent, the first thing we need to do is understand, is the process that we're asking the agent to do,
Is it
necessary?
Yeah, is it necessary? Yeah. There I actually overheard a question as well, is to when you hire someone, you could ask yourself, is this person going to be necessary, or can we do that with an agent? Mm-hmm. And if the human is going to be hired, it obviously needs to be differentiating herself from the agent, because some tasks are going to be done by agents. Yeah.
I just think we need to be very careful that we go through a process within our organization or organizations, that we look at every request. Is it really necessary? So is the task we're asking something to do important? Can we actually design a completely different experience without that process step? Because otherwise we're just using technology for technology's sake, and that's not value. That's not creating value. That's just replacing the same with the same. So first of all, can we create more value? And then we need to know if we can simplify it. Are there other ways of automating it which don't require some of the complications that generative AI can introduce? And then we look at generative AI and say, okay, now we understand what we're trying to solve.
Yep. And the guiding principle for that is probably fall in love with the problem and not the solution.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Spend more time in the problem.
So before we have 2 more questions, I want to resolve a cliffhanger, although probably by now all listeners will have Googled this. When was the IKEA catalog stopped?
Oh, thank you.
And I also Googled it in between.
Gemini.
Yeah, it was a classical search. This was a classical search asked for me in 2020.
Yeah, on Bing.
So already 5 years ago, which I find pretty impressive. When we look at the German retail landscape, I believe that was really one of the first movers and the first to actually do that and inspire so many followers.
We're still trying to really tackle that problem in the retail space to get rid of the leaflets. So you were ahead of your time.
Millions of papers still printed daily. It's completely, it's a big opportunity. Let's position it as a big opportunity.
And but it's only opportunity for some sustainability.
For the climate challenges, they're facing.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead. Yep.
So we always have a very nice tradition towards the end. We have the last guest ask a question to the next guest. And our previous guest was Mark Klein, the CDO from Ergo Insurance. And his question to you was, beyond the hype, how will AI fundamentally change the way we furnish and live in our homes in a few years from now? He was especially interested in your take on virtual reality and what you're doing or planning to embed this technology.
Or if you are at all.
Virtual reality is one of those, is an interesting conversation here at IKEA. We've done some experiments with virtual reality here in Germany, again before my time, but the results were interesting. It's quite a difficult, when we're talking about a physical VR headset and we're talking about interrupting the customer flow, it's actually quite a difficult experience to build into that customer experience. I mean, if you're designing a kitchen and then you want to see it, and then please stick this on your head and come over here, and it's like could be nice. Is it going to take the customer over the edge and close the deal? Question mark. That's something that we need to look. We've been looking at. There are other options for large scale. What would have called immersive rooms, which we have in some countries, which are large. They come in different forms. They're either a small square, 3 meter by 3 meter projected image on the walls where you can see in real size your potential kitchen. There are other versions which is a curved wall, same similar type of thing. So you can see what you've designed or what's been designed for you in real size, which is quite helpful. And then we're experimenting to see how that can work everywhere, because it takes space, and that's space that you're not providing elsewhere. But at the same time, they allow you to show a large amount of range in a small amount of space. So how do we balance that? I'm not sure we're going to see big steps in virtual reality, but I'm not sure we're going to see large steps in virtual reality. But there are augmented reality, which is IKEA Creative. There's augmented reality with Google, where you can look at our products in the spaces. So those do exist, and I find them actually quite useful just to be able to when I'm buying things at home. So I would suggest if you're at an IKEA store at home on your couch and you want to have a play, please do. As I said in the presentation at K5, if you want to clean up the toys on the floor in your kids' room, please use IKEA Creative, because it's great for doing that. You can just delete them.
I wish I could do that in the real world as well.
Yeah.
Just delete them. Yes. I do that every day.
But I think if we look at GenAI, then our imaginations can go a little bit more wild. And I think there are some real opportunities for democratizing home design to enable people like myself, who are complete design morons, who work with some very great people who are very good at home design. I've never invited my IKEA friends to my house. It'd be a disaster. They'd rearrange everything, I'm sure. But taking that knowledge that the interior designers have, and how do we release that into the wild to inspire everybody and help them have the same wonderful experiences that at home as they see in the stores? How do we make that happen? And I think there's real opportunity within GenAI to allow that to happen, and then everyone to have the dream home that they want, because IKEA's prices are at the price that they can then afford to have that dream home. So those things come together.
Yeah, and then I think one aspect you also mentioned within that setting is, I think, how are you going to make the people feel? When I think about virtual reality, sometimes it's a bit abstract, but if you think about making maybe even photographics in the future for you sensible, because you can look back yourself into your youth, just coming off from particular photos, and you can really sense that feeling when you were sitting on a horse when you were 15, and that's going to make the difference. So the business case in itself is not to just put it into a virtual environment, but to emotionalize the context.
If we can inspire the people with their own personal environment, or your environment including their past, maybe, that makes. I'm trying to avoid the word personalization. I don't like it, but I think if we can find a way to inspire that person based upon what they want to be inspired by, I think that's going to create a huge potential for us. Yeah. And I think that's something where GenAI will be able to create this wow in the future, and people, I want that. That's me. Yeah. Why there are certain parts of there's certain furniture types within IKEA that I like. There are certain colors I like. There are certain ways of living I would like to have, and that can all be included into the conversation and say, this is what you would like. And I think we're going to have a really strong bond through that conversation. I don't know when we're going to be there, but I think we can dream in that direction. So.
It's a colorful future ahead. And then now it's your turn, obviously, to leave a question for one of our next guests on AI transformation. Whatever is in your hand, what is the most challenging question you maybe have in your top of your mind you want to be answered?
Do we know who the next guest is?
We always It's a secret. We are going to be talking to a C-level personality as inspiring as you are, and whatever is on top of your head, maybe some big question mark you have still in your head you want to be leaving out.
I'm always in this, as we move from assistance to agentic AI, it's a question of, does the next person here see the use cases appearing for this move to agentic AI? And what difference is it going to make to their business?
We're going to definitely pack that into our box and then have that answered and obviously then transfer the answer to you, but you listen in anyway.
Of course.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. It was a pleasure to be sitting in your kitchen. We also have to solve one more thing, and Nina, it's actually not his own meeting room. It's just his podcast meeting room.
This is part of our office, so maybe I can just share that with everyone. Next door, there's a bedroom, but I thought this was more appropriate.
Jenny, I was gonna ask if you actually get to choose each room that you kind of want to sit in and have a cozy chat every day.
Yeah, so we've got a number of rooms like this. We've got this kitchen, we've got a bedroom. There's a room which is a representation of Smallland, which is where IKEA originates from. We've got a couple of rooms. I'll take you to
the Bällebad. Yeah. So you have a Bällebad available as well?
No, we don't have Bällebad's downstairs. We don't go down there. But it's Smallland with nice trees on the walls, and the birds are singing. Get private conversations. But we can go and have a walk around the store. We can go and have a walk around the store.
Yeah, I would love to.
But we can also go and have a walk around the office and show you around, because this is IKEA. This is we like to be in. So eat our own food, as it were. It's great to be part of IKEA, and we've got such great products.
Yeah, that's why I have to wear shirts with swag. Because fun fact for everyone, I completely forgot we were video recording and just put on a regular shirt today without beautifying myself, just like Jeremiah and Livia. So
as you are.
This is what I get with non-physical products available in my company.
Perfect.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. It was a pleasure to have you, and we're looking forward to the future of the IKEA.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you very much, Livia, Nina. It's great.
Switchen wieder auf Deutsch, weil wir ja heute dynamisch bleiben. Einmal ein bisschen
Bleiben wir
Deutsch.
Ein bisschen im Denglisch mit Switchen.
Genau, diesmal gar nicht so richtig Denglisch. Das muss man ja, das Wort gibt es doch nicht, der Switch. Da müssen wir uns nochmal an die KI wenden, und die können uns da ein bisschen was brainstormen darüber, wie so der Switch Deutsch-Englisch funktioniert, beziehungsweise was für ein Term es dafür gibt. Gut, aber Jeremy hat uns sehr viel auf den Weg gegeben, und bevor ihr den nächsten Schrank aufbaut, der sicherlich schon kurz vor der Lieferung steht, und ihr einmal mehr wieder darüber nachdenkt, wie die Schraube zur anderen kommt, jetzt nochmal ganz schnell die 3 Takeaways von uns. Ich habe als allererstes mitgenommen, dass der neue AI-Leader ein Mensch bleibt und nicht die AI. Ganz wichtig dabei hat der Jeremy gesagt, auch wenn es dann doch den schlaueren Menschen gibt, der quasi der KI-Assistant ist oder der AI-Assistant, der einem dann zur Seite steht, bleibt die Führung und bleibt die Guidance bei den Menschen. Und darauf müssen wir auch achten, weil wir müssen nicht die klügste Person im Raum sein, aber wir sollten die Menschen trotzdem immer noch mitnehmen, und das können wir auch und das werden wir auch.
Und dazu spielt wahrscheinlich auch ganz gut mit rein. Ich fand spannend, was er gesagt hat über das Verabschieden vom Mythos, dass künstliche Intelligenz die Wahrheit mit Löffeln gefuttert hat und wirklich 100% fehlerfrei ist. Dadurch, dass sie natürlich auch mit fehlerhaften Daten im Zweifelsfall gefüttert wurde und getrimmt wurde, kann sie überhaupt nicht 100%ig richtig sein. Insofern ist es umso wichtiger, dann da eben auch den Human in a Loop zu haben, was Jeremy genauso betont hat wie Mark Klein, lustigerweise, unsere letzte Folge. Finde ich ja auch gut, dass die Herren da sehr aligned sind, dass wir da wirklich auch immer den Menschen entsprechend brauchen, um am Ende der Sorgfaltspflicht Sorge zu tragen, dass alles doch Hand und Fuß hat und Sinn macht.
Hast du sehr schön gesagt. Und der letzte Punkt, den ich noch mitgenommen habe, finde ich auch einen ganz wichtigen Punkt, zu sagen, digitale Transformation ist Jobveränderung und nicht die Jobverabschiedung. Weil es ist doch immer in unseren Ohren, dass wir Angst um unseren Job haben müssen. Aber die Produktivitätssteigerung führt dann im Endeffekt dazu, dass wir neue Jobs haben, auf denen wir jetzt gar nicht oder auf die wir gar nicht jetzt kommen würden. Aber durch die Transformation einfach etwas entstehen kann, was uns über uns selbst hinaus wachsen lässt. Und ich glaube, mit dem Gedanken können wir auch uns selber noch mehr reinleden und von dem Fear of Messing Up, FOMO, in den Maximizing Advantages, Focusing on Maximizing Advantages Moment zu kommen, FOMA Moment, wie ich ihn so schön gerade erst gelesen habe, also von FOMO auf FOMA, und stürzt euch rein, probiert aus. Und wenn ihr auch mal hinfallt, beziehungsweise wenn ihr mal Angst davon habt, das ganze Unternehmen zu zerstören mit einem Prompt, macht es trotzdem. Weil ich glaube, jeder, der versucht, ist eine Stufe voraus vor dem, der einfach sitzen bleibt und der in Angst geschnürt auf seinem Stuhl sitzt.
Und das Ding ist häufig auch, was ist das Schlimmste, was passieren wird? Ne? Ich weiß nicht, wie häufig wir auch intern bei uns sagen, wir operieren nicht am offenen Herzen. Und so ist es. Ich glaube, da gibt es wirklich andere, die in wirklich lebensbedrohlichen anderen Entscheidungssituationen sitzen. Insofern, wenn es kein Operieren am offenen Herzen ist, dann traut euch das durchaus zu und traut euch da gerne einmal rein. Livia hatte so einen schönen Satz letzte Woche gesagt, die Geschwindigkeit des KI-Wandels duldet keine Beobachter.
Ach ja.
Und den finde ich großartig. Wir sind hier alle keine Zuschauer, sondern wirklich mittendrin. Und je eher wir die Ärmel hochrollen und uns hier auch mit reinstürzen, desto besser ist das hoffentlich auch für uns alle.
Danke, dass du mich da nochmal zitiert hast, Nina. Finde ich sehr.
Ja, guck mal, es
ist hängen
dich
geblieben
hier schon, Livia. Ich
Ja.
weiß gar nicht mehr, ob du das, ich glaube, letzte Woche, als wir immer gesprochen haben, hattest du auf den Tisch gehauen und diesen Satz irgendwie rausgehauen und der hat sich tatsächlich bei mir nochmal eingeprägt.
Das finde ich schön.
Vielen lieben Dank euch fürs Zuhören und hoffentlich auch Zuschauen, denn auch diese Folge findet ihr, wie auch schon 4, 5 andere Folgen, auf unserem YouTube-Kanal. Insofern könnt ihr uns auch quasi fast live, so ein bisschen live recorded immerhin, aber immerhin in Farbe, in unserer häuslichen, bürolichen, hotelzimmerlichen Umgebung, wo wir eben gerade sind, entsprechend auch sehen.
Wo wir die Zelte aufschlagen.
Ja, genau, wo wir dann eben gerade mit unserem Mikro und unseren Kopfhörern irgendwie durch die Gegend sind. Das ist ja echt ganz genial, was hier mittlerweile remote auch möglich ist. Und wir freuen uns wahnsinnig, wenn euch diese Folge gefallen hat, ihr uns entsprechend Feedback zukommen lasst. Auch wie gesagt, bitte zum Englischen. Wollen wir davon mehr? Wollen wir davon weniger? Das hilft uns wirklich immer, da ein paar Stimmen zu hören. Und dann hören wir uns zu Folge 40 in 2 Wochen wieder.